Hello, Unbreakable Mompreneurs. My name is Charisse Walker, your host. Are you starting that business and you're trying to figure out how to grow it, what to do? Or do you have a podcast and you're trying to figure out how to grow that as well? Well, today is the day that we have Joy Rowland in the house, and I'm so excited because she's very successful at what she does. And without further ado, Joy, do you want to introduce yourself to our audience?
Yeah, thank you so much for the opportunity to be on your podcast. My name is Joy Rowland. I'm a profitability coach. I help businesses become wildly profitable. And I work mainly with women, but I have men as clients. But I advertise myself as working with women. And my goal is to help women leverage technology and leverage all of the tools to help them grow their businesses. So I'm happy to share here today.
Well, I love that. But I have to ask you, first of all, the picture on your wall behind you, what is the meaning of it? Audrey Hepburn.
Yes, Audrey Hepburn. Like I never knew her name until I bought her. I saw the artwork in store and I bought it. And then when I would have meetings, people would ask me about her. And so I took a picture with my phone and I asked Google, who's this woman? And then I did the research and it said it's Audrey Hepburn. And I read her history and all the amazing things she did when she was alive. And I'm like, yeah, I love that woman. And so I proudly display her on my wall.
I love that. Yeah, she was gorgeous as well. Okay, so let's talk about business. When you're helping women and men, for that matter, what are some of the things that women or businesses are struggling with? And that's an open-ended can of worms, I know.
Yes. I think the number one thing, like I like to look at this from two aspects, one from energetics and the other from mechanics, like the strategy. From I feel like the most work happen at the energetic stage, people feeling worthy of success, people feeling like they deserve a successful business. So that's the underlying, I believe, challenge that most people have. That even though on paper, people say, yeah, I want to have a successful business. I want a multiple six-figure business. I want a seven-figure business. But underneath, at a subconscious level, there is a thought that is holding people back from actually assuming that success. So that's I believe, the number one step. And from a strategy or mechanics point, I believe the challenge is people not knowing what their business formula is. So if I ask somebody today, can you tell me in mathematical sense the series of steps you take in your business that guarantees a client, for example? They can't tell me. Like they just take actions haphazardly and they hope and cross their fingers that they'll have clients or a full practice. So I always encourage people to know the specific income producing actions that create results in their businesses because only when we know that do we have a business. Otherwise, we have a hobby, right? So I believe that's the first step. And when people know their money producing formula in their businesses, then they can do multiple six figures, seven figures, eight figures, depending on their business goals.
Yeah. It's been, I'm getting a house ready to sell one of our houses, and our renters destroyed it, right? So I have a lot of time to drive back and forth. It's about 40 minutes away every single day, sometimes multiple times because I have kids I'm trying to juggle with school. And so I have a lot of time to think, and I have a lot of time to drive by businesses. And yesterday I was driving by this business, and it was going out of business sale, and it's a very big box store. And I thought, oh, that's interesting that that's not working anymore. And then I hear on the radio, because we're getting ready to host the 2034 Olympics here in Utah. And so they talk about how they had a fundraiser yesterday. They had over $200 million that was raised for fundraising, like more than the history of any type of Olympics, because that's what we do here in Utah. And
Mm.
it's interesting because like multiple businesses donated $20 million each of those businesses to this fundraiser. And so I think about this like, okay, so you have a business, and there are the prominent families that are here in Utah, very familiar with them. But I'm like, okay, so how does a business, like they wake up one day and say, I'm going to start like this one, I'm going to start a car business. And then he morphs it into like this ginormous, huge thing
Mm,
here in Utah and actually Arizona and Idaho now. And so it's interesting to kind of listen to how businesses work because there are a lot of
mm.
businesses, and you talk about how there's 81% of coaching businesses, for example, fail. And what do we need to know? And so, what are the secrets that we don't know for our businesses that we can implement so that we don't fail?
Yes. Thank you so much for that question. And I love the analogy you gave there. To answer your question, I don't think there is a secret.
Hmm.
I believe that it is people deciding ahead of time that they are going to succeed.
Okay.
And I know that sounds like cliche, or it sounds like, oh, of course, I've decided I want to succeed, but that's not true. The way people show up in their businesses is like they have a plan B, right? So, for example, yesterday I was talking to a guy, he was on a consult, and I gave him my business insights. And one of them was for him to be more open with his audience. So he had struggled with depression, and now his passion is to help men overcome mental health issues.
Hmm.
And so when I suggested that, his response was, "Oh no, I don't think I want to do that, because if ever I end up going back to a 9 to 5, my potential employer would check my Instagram and Facebook. And if I had struggled with mental health, they're not going to hire me, or it's going to affect me forever." And when he said that, I'm like, oh my gosh, this guy just set himself up to fail. The fact that you are planning that in the future you will go back to a 9 to 5, and the work you're doing in the world to help men overcome depression and anxiety will come back to bite you, because you're thinking in the future you're going to be an employee again. You set yourself up to fail, because subconsciously you are already preparing for failure. So, to answer your question, people need to be 100% committed to their desire to create a successful business, and almost kind of remove any plan B. Because if there is no plan B, you will succeed. I'll give you an example. When I left my home country in Africa when I was 25, I left a horrible situation economically. My family was struggling. And I said, oh my gosh, I need to go make money just to feed my mom and dad. Right. So when I left, there was no doubt that I would create success. I know that sounds kind of brash somehow, but the alternative was to go back to poverty, right? So in my case, it was succeed or succeed. People don't have that, oh my gosh, I'm going to succeed in this business. They have plan B, they have a backup plan. They're going to move in with their mom or their grandparents. All of that backup plan is there. So I believe that's the number one thing. And once you are 100% committed to your vision of creating a successful business, oh my gosh, the universe will align in your favor. The way opportunities will show up, you're going to be so determined. You're going to take action from a place of knowing that it's already a success. So that's my long-winded answer to your question.
You know, I agree with you on a lot of that, that when people, when they have a safety net, they go all in. And so they are more likely to fail. But what if you have that person that does go all in? But like I had a business partner and she went all in. I will give her that. She went all in, but she ran it into the ground. And I look back at like her personal finances and how they are versus like she should be very well off with a whole bunch of money in the bank and she has like none. And so it's interesting to me that, like, how do you speak to those people? Because is it just a desire to win? Because I look at like restaurants. We went to, on the way home last night, my husband's like, I'm hungry. So we go to this restaurant and we've been there before, like 5 years ago, because it's not where we live. But I walked in and nobody was in that restaurant, like nobody. And you could tell that probably not very many people came in that night anyway. And so it's like they had great food, they had great service, but yet nobody was there. And so how do you help people avoid that? Like they get more clients or they get more customers.
Yeah. So for those two examples you gave, I would say is adaptability.
Okay.
First, for the example you give about somebody not being good with money, I would say get the right support, right? There are people who have created the kind of success you are looking to create, have the humility to ask for support. And that could be hiring a coach, that could be being in a community of people who have the same ambition. I am in a number of masterminds, and just seeing what other people are doing in the mastermind encourages me to take action. So being in a community of other entrepreneurs helps.
Mhm.
For the example of the restaurant, I would say it is adaptability, adaptability to what your clients are looking for. For example, we are in the era of AI revolution. I can tell you in my business, just in the last 8 months, I have done over $500,000 just because of AI, because my business has now adapted to AI. We're now using AI. In fact, we are now teaching people how to use AI in their businesses. So many business owners have decided to bury their heads in the sand and fingers crossed, this AI wind just blows away. Well, it's not going to blow away, right?
Mm.
So being adaptable and saying, oh, how is AI creating millionaires overnight? I want to leverage that. I want to learn. No longer will I rely on my excuse of I'm not good with tech, right? I'm going to learn how are businesses now using AI to scale their businesses. I'm going to learn, I'm going to adapt so I can get my business into the 21st century. So those are the pointers I have. And then how I help my clients is once we identify your business producing formula, we then have to get better.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'll use an online business, which is most of what I do. For an online business, if your formula is running master classes or running workshops, and I know personally, every single time I run a workshop, I make about 25,000 on that same day. Like I sell live in a workshop. So now I know, oh, that's my income producing formula. I know every month running workshops live helps me to sign clients. So once you know your business formula, it's now to get better. When I started, I was horrible at presenting live. People expect to be perfect the first time. I was horrible for many, many months. But because every single month, throughout this year, I've done two workshops per month, right? Every single month throughout this year, I haven't missed 1 year and 1 month. And we are in September now. So when you find your income producing formula, you have to hone your skill, get better and better and better, and that's how you grow.
I love that. First of all, kudos to you and congratulations because consistency proves a point. Russell Brunson's one of my coaches, and he talks about that. You have to be consistent. You have to be consistent. But for those listeners that heard you say, I've made over $500,000 in the last 8 months, they're thinking, no way, I'll never be able to get to that point. I don't even know how. Um, how can you guide them and coach them through saying, like, yeah, you can do it, you're just playing small? How do you get out of that small mindset?
First of all, if someone is thinking that, you've already failed. Like you haven't even given yourself the opportunity to get to the pitch, the football pitch to play, right? And so I love your question about how do you get yourself? I believe is giving your brain evidence. The human brain always loves evidence, evidence that something has been done. So I personally, I give my brain a database of evidence of people that's achieved what I am looking to achieve, right? So give yourself evidence and you can use me as evidence. You could say, oh, this girl, an immigrant from Africa with $0, went like less than $0 because I had to get into debt to fund my way through school. If I could figure it out, you can, especially if you desire to figure it out. So I encourage you that you can do it if you want to. You can, and especially that the universe is in your favor, right? If you're believers like me, I believe that God has given me talents, skills for me to profit from.
Mm.
So find evidence that somebody has done exactly what you're looking to do. Hire help. I cannot tell you a lot about hiring help because my coach helps me when I doubt myself,
Mhm.
right? Times will come when you're going to doubt yourself. Times will come when you prefer instant gratification than delayed gratification. So those times is when your coach will help you through because there'll be
Mhm.
mountains and valleys on your journey. So hire help, and as you reach those new levels, you're gonna prove to yourself, "Oh my gosh, I can do this." And you don't need to know how to do it at the beginning. My coach Brooke Steele says this. Set your impossible goal and then tell your brain it's never been done before. Because your brain wants proof that it's been done, right? So we never know how until we get there. Like if you had asked me, let's say 10 years ago, how do you make $100,000 per year? I had no clue. But ask me now, how do you make $500,000 a year? I can tell you. Why? Because I've done it, right? So don't try to figure it out. Don't try to know everything before you take the action.
Brooke is a good little speaker on stage. I've seen her, so that's cool that you coach with her. And you're probably in that community as well. I love that you talk about that and look for other people, look for that social proof and realize, and I think that that's the thing is in that community for some people who don't know, like ClickFunnels, it's been a 5-year journey for me. And it's really interesting because I've hired many of those coaches and people that have been on the stages, and now one moved into my neighborhood, and I'm like, oh, and like the very first time I saw her, and I was tongue-tied. I'm like, what the heck? She's just a normal person. And as I get to know her more and more, she's totally a normal person. And if anything, like she self-deprecates herself all the time because she's so insecure about some things. Sweetest woman ever, right? And so it's just interesting. It's like, okay, they're normal people. Like you run into a movie star, it's a normal person. So if you put these people up on pedestals, you'll think that you can never attain what they are attaining, but you are. And I'm so happy and congratulations to you for that. That's great.
Thank you. The woman you just mentioned, is that Jodie Moore?
No, it's not.
Okay, okay, because I know Jodie Moore has some connections with Utah,
Yeah.
and she's someone I look up to as well, one of the mentors inside of the Life Coach School. And it's just so interesting how her niche is the LDS church. So she coaches LDS women.
Mhm.
And now, as I did last time she reported, she's made over $6.5 million per year. That's the turnover she's making in her business.
I know who you're talking
And
about.
so,
She has
yeah,
quite a following in LDS,
yeah,
huge following. And so, yeah.
yeah,
But no, I've never listened to a single thing of hers. But yeah, I've heard her name. Yeah. Okay,
incredible.
so let's switch gears for a minute and let's talk about your podcast because you're very successful in your podcast as well. So, how did you get there?
Oh, thank you so much, Charisse. So, when I started almost exactly 2 years ago, November of 2023, I'm just looking at the calendar date on my computer. I was horrible. Like, even now, I couldn't go back to the first 50 episode of my podcast because I will cringe.
Mhm.
That podcast, those episodes were recorded on my phone. I was just going to use my podcast as my personal development. I wanted something to keep me accountable. That's why I started my podcast. And so every single week since I started, I have launched an episode. In fact, sometimes when I first started, I was doing 2 episodes per week because I'm like, I want to stretch myself. I want to become the woman because we have to become in our minds. I want to become the woman who can make multiple six-figure per month, per year. And so the podcast was my personal development tool. And as I was doing the podcast, I would get like feedback on Instagram. Somebody would create a post on Facebook and say, "Oh, I just listened to episode XYZ of the Joyful Money podcast." And she would do a screenshot. And I'm like, what's going on? This is the girl from Africa. Like, aren't people aware? So I was willing to be horrible publicly, which is what many people aren't willing to do. People want to sound polished. People want to sound perfect because they're afraid of rejection. They're afraid of people laughing at them online. But I was willing to be horrible publicly because I knew if I could just get better every single week and just honing that muscle, I knew that I could do a lot in the world. And it's my life's work that I want to, when I leave this earth, I want to make sure I go with nothing that God has blessed me with. And that's what propels me to keep going.
Love that. You're such an inspiration. I just love your wisdom. I love your experience and I love your determination and the fact that you are an implementer and you do what you say and you have success because of it. So congratulations to that. Um,
Thank you.
all right. So it is Unbreakable Mompreneurs. And so my next question is going to talk about being a mom. And I want you to imagine yourself if she's 6. I want you to imagine yourself sitting on a park bench and watching kids play or your daughter play on the playground because she's young enough. And a 9-month pregnant woman comes and sits next to you. If you could give her one piece of advice about anything, what advice would you give her?
I'll tell her, you are doing exactly what you're meant to do. You are not behind. You are exactly where you need to be. I say that because when I had my baby, I felt like the world was just going by. I felt like, oh my gosh, I wish I could just continue my career. I wish I was like XYZ person. And I was always comparing myself to other high-powered corporate executives. So I will say to that woman, there is a reason why God has blessed you with that baby. I believe it is the greatest honor of my life that God has entrusted this life to me. And so I would encourage her, get as much support as you can, especially social support, because when I had my baby, sadly, I had to go through postpartum depression that lasted for many years. And I went to the doctor and they were almost going to put me on SSRI. And I said no, because I had seen the impact of antidepressants on my then husband. So I would encourage the woman, have grace for yourself in this season of life you're in and just enjoy the moment. Enjoy the moment. And for many women, we run our businesses alongside being moms. Take your kids along on the journey. Right now, my daughter, like she knows about podcast creation. She helps me all the different elements of my business. I'm so blessed she's interested because I want to build this as a legacy business for her. When she grows, I want to pass it on to her. I'm just enamored about how she's interested in my business. So I encourage women, bring your kids along, let them learn with you and teach them, and just have fun running your business.
I agree. That was something because I have 6 kids and we were having a conversation that yesterday. I'm a really, really hard worker and I have multiple businesses and I'm successful at what I do. And unfortunately, there's somebody that, as you said, my then husband, mine as well, that he is not that way. He's a lot more opposite. On the color code, he's a yellow, and which means that he's very carefree and doesn't worry about stuff and other people take care of things for him, and that's who he is, right? And so we were talking and I'm like, okay, kids, because some of them are struggling with money and getting jobs, and I'm like, what happened here? Like, I used to run colleges, I opened a college, and now I'm like successful at what I do. What's going on, and I think part of it is they see the entrepreneur side, that I used to run college, so it was like it was a job, and now I have my time that I can do what I want, right? And so I think sometimes they're like, well, I don't have to get a 9 to 5. I'm like, I did my time. Like, you have to learn those skills, and you don't have a steady income right now. You need a steady income. And so it's like we were having that conversation, and it's interesting because I wish that while I'm up until like this morning, 3 a.m. in the morning, taking care of things and then up again at 7 so that I can take care of my kids. And that's not, I've been purposely trying to get sleep, but last night was different. And so I'm like, I should have had them involved while they're just watching TV or playing on something, or like like I should have them down here. Okay, you guys, like you, let me show you this podcast and you get to help me edit it and you can help like get them more involved. And with my real estate, I do involve them so much that they hate it, but other stuff, like what do they enjoy? And I think that that's important because you're teaching her such important skills that I didn't have growing up and you didn't have growing up. And so I think that that's amazing is to get them involved is great advice. And to enjoy the journey is also good.
Yes. Enjoy the journey. I love what you just said about your kids. The other day, my daughter, she said, "Oh, I don't want to go to school." And I go, "Why?" And she said, "School is so hard." And I'm like, "Girl, we embrace hard things. Girls do hard things."
Yes.
I love that your kids are like, "Oh, I don't have to get 9 to 5." And technically they don't. So
Right.
you can actually employ them in your business. Yeah, teach them. Give them the YouTube to watch how to edit podcast episodes, then employ them and then pay them to do the work.
Yeah, no, it's so true. It's so true. I even bought a course, you know, from one of those people in the community. It's like a $7 course. I'm like, it's worth it. Kids, like, you want to do this
Yeah.
YouTube channel? Let's watch this. So, yeah, find out what they're passionate about and then they
Yeah.
get them involved. So I love that. All right. Well, if our listeners wanted to learn more about you or employ you or get to know you, how would they do that?
Oh, thank you so much. So the first step is to send me a DM. I love creating like personal relationships first to get to know people before we explore working together. So just send me a DM, say hello, introduce yourself, and we'll take the conversation up from there.
I love that. Well, Joy, thank you so much for being on.
Thank you so much. It's been a joy, pun intended, being on your show.
And Unbreakable Moms, I hope that you took something from this and specifically that it's okay. Believe in yourself, which is everything I want you to know, is that you can do whatever you set your mind to it and you deserve it. And if you need help along the way, then reach out to me or Joy. And in the meantime, go out and make it a great day. And like and subscribe. See you later.